Sensei wanted us to talk a little bit about Shime and Chinkuchi, Sanchin and Naihanchi. Back in, I would say with the late 80s, early 90s, Sensei did a seminar in, I believe, Natchez. And he performed Sanchin kata. And they beat him up. They didn't understand what Sanchin kata and how to test Shime, how it's supposed to be done. And Shime, Sensei talked about was tension, right? Choking. Chinkuchi was muscle, sinew, food, bone, and breathing, right? Too. So it's a coordinating breath control, tension explosion drill or technique to work on. And when he came back, they had broke boards on it, ran up, hit him, kicked him, and he was pretty black and blue, so they really did a number. And if Mitchie had been there, she would have did Roman Pendui and Frank and Fui. She was not happy at all when you got home. They have good chinkuchi, breath control, and coordination. You have to have the proper stance. So when he starts out, we're going to do it, steps out, circle, right? So we have to power, chinkuchi comes from the deck, comes from the bottom up. We have to put tension. Don't always stand seisai stance. Kind of leaves a little vulnerable. We close, drop, then we test and see if he has the proper fluid. The hand, like we were talking the other day, should be able to fit. Same with the kick, the pet, the drawing.
And for testing Shime with Naihanchi, which is how they do it in Isshinryu. Isshinryu, they have similar concept about still Shime, but they do it with Naihanchi. So in the Enbukai Dojo, we have the Isshinryu roots. And I'll test him the same way. If his Naihanchi is good, same thing.
Now the tension, it comes from the deck. So you can visualize gripping the deck with your toes. You can actually grab hold. And I'm putting outward tension so that I'm trying to grip the floor and turn out. What that allows me to do is touch the buttocks. Think of it as having to be able to hold a quarter in the cheeks. You're not going to let go of it. Right ear, tension from the neck. Tension, this muscle. You should be strong. Now we talked about Sanchin Naihanchi, right? Put a little bit more where you need it. So he's tense, and I'll signal him where I'm going to go. So if I'm going to test here, he's going to have a little extra chinkuchi where I'm testing. Power comes up through the deck. Now he's going to step, right, and breathe, right? Yeah, nice closed stand. Breathing, very important. He's going to breathe in the nose, exhale out the mouth. There is chest breathing, diaphragm breathing. We breathe with the diaphragm. So in an inhale, the stomach goes out, and exhale, push it in. Sensei makes you hear a lot of noise because you want to hear the air. That's what we're listening for. That's why. So it's a little bit of restriction so you can hear the burst at the end.
And in Isshinryu Shime, when we're testing, we're doing that ibuki breathing that Robert Sensei just talked about. In Naihanchi, he's still breathing, he's still doing that diaphragm breathing, but it's not ibuki breathing, so you won't hear him making that sound.
Now we keep a little reserve, right? If he lets, just relax a second now, demo here, they said you can try it with your person. If he holds his arm out, right? Turn your face up, right? And so don't let me, the old drill of don't let me push it down, all right? Now, if he exhales, let all your air out. All the way, all the way, all the way, all the way. All right? So now he has no reserve to oxygen to keep the strength in. So now if he inhales, exhales, you get to the point where you're going to burst and then hold. Hold. Comes much stronger. So as go ahead and do your. So he's going to exhale and explode at the end. So you're keeping that in reserve. Tatsu told a story about not having a reserve. It was a horse. His horse got, I can't remember the details.
The horse cart during World War II,
They all got World War II.
destroyed.
In living, he said that, in other words, he's saying, he explained that the Kempo Goku, and he's talking about Sanchin and breathing and that, and he says that there's several ways of doing it. Number one is when you're doing Sanchin, there's two ways of doing Sanchin. One, you can let out all the air, but when somebody's testing you, you don't let out all the air, you always keep a reserve. And if you're in a fight, you'll always have a reserve, otherwise you'd be weak, you run out of energy and all this. And then he come down and then he said that in World War II, he had a horse and a cart. American forces came, killed his horse, destroyed his cart, and he had no money, no reserve, and he told me to save for that rainy day, for that reserve. Later on, he goes to Japan, he becomes a bodyguard type job. He makes a lot of money. He comes back and he buys a lot of land in Ushikawa, and that's why his son is a millionaire.
So, moral of the story, keep it reserved.
It's a good story.
So, if I'm testing him, if he's just learning, right? I'm just feeling it, right? I'm not testing. Now, once he gets senior now, I'm going to test. He's firm, right? I didn't punch him, I didn't beat him up, but I let him know he was being hit, right? Tight. And if you're going to check the front stance, starting fine. Now, some people do select kicks, easy on the knee side, maybe a little bit of a tap. Don't break it, just test it. All right.
An example is Rod Midland was taking Uichido karate. In Okinawa, the Uichido are the fanatics of karate. And they dislocated his leg. And he was never the same after that. In other words, they do a pretty good job of checking your Shime.
You got to check one thing on it.
Yeah, same here. The point is not to hurt him. The point is to check his tension. So as a beginner, I'm going to check to make sure this is tight. And he feels here, he knows to put chinkuchi here, tension here. When he's more advanced, I can go a little harder. Same thing here. I'm checking the lats. I can punch here, but obviously I'm not going to punch down here. It's important that I'm not trying to hit him and hurt him. I'm checking his chinkuchi. That's the point.
In Goju-do, when they slap you in the back, if you're not wearing a shirt, you see big red marks on there. In other words, they slap you pretty damn good.
No.
Isshinryu, they don't do it as hard. But Goju-do, they do it. Bam, you want the sting. And they go with the zen, just like when they hit you with the stick and all that other good stuff.
Now, the traditional way to do this was that we always did in the dojo, since we said we're going to do Sanchin, first thing we do is take our gi tops off. And that was so that you could see your tensioning, and you could see your breathing. And if you see a lot of the old videos of Sensei doing Sanchin, he never had his shirt on. So that was the traditional way. Then we have more ladies come in, so it's maybe a little awkward for them to take their gi tops off.
Ladies did not do that.
But I did hear that some dojos, the ladies will wear like a sports bra or something like and take their so they can actually see the diaphragm's movement and the tensioning of the muscles. So,
You know, what you do in Goju tradition is take off the top, except for the ladies, like you said. I'm sure some dojos won't allow it. I know.
Now here, I'm doing dynamic tension, I'm pushing against it, and letting go. And then you know, and push. The key to this is, right, step. The key to this is centering the body, lowering the center of gravity. So when he pushes, and I'm going to hold against him, right, he didn't move. Right, if he does, if that happens, and the more he resists me, right, and he just lets go. If I don't want to go like in or lean or go forward, my weight. So really what I'm saying is, when I'm pushing, but he should feel that, feel it going down on the deck from the center of gravity.
When you're checking it, you're pushing against his punch, and he's blocking, and you're pushing against the block. So you're pushing one in and the other one forward. I mean, inside and the other one forward. And if you lurch, in other words, if he turns loose when you're putting full power, if you lurch forward or something, then Sensei would have told with the chinkuchi nai. In other words, you're not controlling it. Doesn't mean you don't have strength. It means you're not controlling it. And that's one of the key, and that's what control comes off. It's energy, but you're controlling that energy. When you see people breaking boards and they lunge toward it, if I remove the board, you see them flying over. You see that in sumo all the time. Sumo, when the guy is pushing, and then all of a sudden the sumo moves over here, and then the guy falls forward and off balance. You see that in judo and all that. You see it when people are lunging, and all of a sudden they hit, and all of a sudden they break the board, and then they lurch forward like that. You haven't controlled it. But now when you hit that thing there, you break the board, and now you've got your chinkuchi because you haven't lost your balance. You're ready for the next attack.
Sensei doing Naihanchi here, I'm testing to make sure he's got his rule of thumb. We talked about the rule of thumb yesterday. He's got tension in his hand. If he relaxes his hand, this is gonna crumple. That's not gonna work for him. So I'm checking to see that he's got chinkuchi. Yeah. Same thing. If he's leaning, he's gonna lurch. Right? Yeah. If he does that, that's a good indicator. He needs to tense more and use his chinkuchi.
So go ahead and do your neck punch. Now the chinkuchi should build from the deck. He should start tightening, and then at the very end, he's going to have an explosion, right? So I'm focusing. That is release tension, that burst of energy. That goes coordinating with the punch and with the breathing. You relax. Then you gotta go relax again. And the steps, you gotta just keep doing that. Right? First, boom, right?
Here, I'm continuing to check
And
something.
now he's drawing in. When he reaches in, it's ripping down side. So if we eliminate this, here's that. This will be pulling in, right? And I want to pull it in and down. This comes off. Just follow the line of the body. Touching. And here, testing.
And here I'm testing, same thing, making sure he's got chinkuchi and it's down low.
Again, here we're going to use Diana tension. I'm pushing against it. When I release, get it back. Hold. Now, I'm giving just like a heads up, right? Little tap, but he holds. He's doing it to
And here I'm testing to make sure this is aligned. Same thing, I should be able to push pretty hard. You've seen Sensei do this when he's testing somebody, and you notice Sensei doesn't lurch forward, right? If he lurches forward, that's chinkuchi line. There you go. In Iha Sensei's dojo, something he also does in addition to this is he'll pull. So he's checking to see that stability in a little different way.
In the Sanchin, we do 5 breaths. And this is the cool down, relaxing, the shallowing of the breathing. Become shallow, more relaxed, get it in 5 breaths. Okay, we're good. Sanchin Kai.
Naihanchi kata. Hey.
Sunday, are you ready?
I'm born ready, Sensei.
Father, you're being too lenient.
Thank you, Sensei. Sensei didn't like that very much.
That's all right. Hey. Hey.